and I haven't actually got to the end yet, single player. Lost Planet 2. This game, it claims I haven't beaten it, even though I have seen it, because I beat it while playing offline. This game is the sort of thing where it basically makes you try and seem like you're playing online, even when you're not, which can get kind of annoying. I mean, I'd much rather have, if it does have to do that sort of system, like, there's a few things I'd much rather have to do, as in names. I'd much rather have a proper names rather than have names like fake, like, you know, PSN gamer tags, whatever, which just sound completely stupid when you're playing single player. And the AI on your allies, it's decent. They can't really, they don't seem to be able to do stuff like ride around with VS's, but the AI is, apart from that, you know, it's decent. The gameplay itself, the gunplay when you're fighting other humans and stuff is okay. I wouldn't say it's amazing. It's much better to play with 4 other people, or 3 other people, or maybe just even the one, just to play with someone else. And the main thing when this game sticks out is the big, like, massive fights with the Acryds, like the G level Acryds. They are really fun. I think they really should have focused a lot more on those, put a lot more of them in the game than they did. But, you know, I'd say worth picking up because it's very cheap now. And some people seem to like it, some people don't. I don't know why is this up there. It's first-person shooter. This is a third-person shooter. If you have a grappling hook, you've got a lot of mobility. You can use the grappling hook all over the place, and your character can jump pretty high, and you can move pretty fast. There's a lot of mobility into the game, and there's sort of environmental traps and the like you can use throughout the game. Mag, I don't know if this is even popular anymore. It didn't really take off too well, I don't believe. It's meant to be a sort of massively multiplayer online first-person shooter. It's not that good of a first-person shooter, though. It's the problem. It's got a lot of players in the battles, sure, but I never really got that far into it, so it didn't really seem that fun, to be honest. It just didn't really seem to be enough to it. Anyway, moving on. Medal of Honor. Oh, this is multiplayer only, so only pick it up if there's anything to the multiplayer community, which I don't think there really is anymore. And, you know, I wouldn't really recommend picking up anyway. And great, I accidentally scrolled all the way back to the top of the list. Medal of Honor. Was expecting a bit more of this game than what I did get, which is, again, another sort of Call of Duty clone. It did have some sort of nicer features. It felt a bit slicker than Call of Duty in certain retrospects. But to be honest, it really is more or less a COD clone. Slightly fancier COD clone. Metal Gear Solid 4, Guns of the Patriots. A lot of cutscenes in this game. I mean, the cutscenes probably outweigh the amount of time you actually be playing it. But the gameplay itself is fun. The cutscenes are really well done. Nice story, although it's Metal Gear Solid, so the story does get pretty insane. Crazy. But, yeah, nice, like, really good characters in this game. Definitely a must-own for anyone who plays, who has a PS3. A really old game as well, it's like £5 now. Definitely worth picking up. Unfortunate that the new Metal Gear Solid 5 is pretty much ditching everything else from the other Metal Gear Solid games. But, you know, it's got... You know, there's still Metal Gear Solid games coming out for, like, there's been ones coming out for PSP and the like. And the other Metal Gear Solid game I have on PS3, the HD Collection. This has Metal Gear Solid 2, 3, and also the one on the PSP, Peace Walker. I recommend playing through them, even though it lays them out differently in the menu. I recommend playing them in the order that they came out, because there's constant, like, references, I think, to things that happen in 2 and 3, which you won't get unless you play 2 first. Despite the fact it shows 3 coming first, because that's how they went chronologically, in chronological order. But yeah, again, the stories get completely fucking batshit insane. At least in Metal Gear Solid 2 and 3. I haven't played that much of Peace Walker. In fact, I've barely even touched it yet. And to be honest, they haven't really done much to up the graphics at all. They've added in trophies and like, if that's really, like, you know, if that's really something you're interested in. Me, not particularly. And they've added in, like, I mean, it doesn't really look any difference to the PS2. I suppose if you're like, you haven't owned these games on PS2, I recommend picking this up. Otherwise, you can probably miss it. I mean, it might be nice just to get, because the PSP only game, which is supposed to be pretty good. Which, if you say you don't own a PSP, and who knows, maybe you'll prefer to play it now on PS3 just because, you know, updated system. Which seems kind of like a foolish thing to make the game feel better on, but, you know, whatever. Nier. Really fun action RPG, this game. It's just immensely fun, really big boss fights. You got your character. You can't really like change how your character levels up and the like. You don't really have stat edits. Your character sort of just levels up. How he levels up, he just gets more powerful. You don't really choose how he gets more powerful in different fields. And your guy always has his magic attacks, which act as range attacks and magic, pretty much, and his sword. So he'll always be like a jack of all trades. But it's a really cool game. It does have a lot of variety in its different sections, as in, you get some bits where it's sort of like fighting from a top-down hack and slash perspective. Most of the time be like sort of third person behind the camera. He even has basically sort of text-based adventure bits in it. Which, although it seems pretty cool, is incredibly boring at times. I mean, I like a good text-based adventure, but it's like a text-based adventure without the adventure. But yeah, definitely recommend picking this game up. Great, really fun, really good combat, engaging characters. Overlord 2, haven't played it. I have it on PC with Overlord 1, and I have played Overlord 1 on the PS3, but I've got it on the computer, and I've got this on the computer. Haven't played Overlord 2 on either yet, but Overlord 1 is really cool, sort of minion control, sort of mix of strategy with like third-person action. Well, it's just no real RPG to it, just third-person action, to be honest, with real-time strategy elements with it. I believe this isn't supposed to be quite as good as the first one, and it's got artwork and the likes from Terry Pratchett. And, you know, well, the Overlord 1 did, I believe. I think this was done by someone else. But, don't quote me on that. But yeah, it's a really cool art style. Prince of Persia Trilogy. I never owned any of these games. I saw my brother play the first one, so that's the reason I decided to pick him up. As far as I'm concerned, I've only played the first one on here so far. The first one focuses a lot more on, and basically has the 3D compatible thing, but it's pretty much completely useless. I mean, no one really uses it, and again, the graphics don't really seem much updated. But yeah, it's a sort of action platform which focuses a lot more on the platform than the action. At least until you get to the last one on this disc, I believe, where they did a lot more focus on the combat. I think that's how it went anyway. I'm not exactly sure, as I said. I haven't played those two ever, I've just only played the first one, and the first was definitely more focused on platforming. Just what I've heard. Next up, Rage, as you've already seen twice, because I kept flicking back and forth like an idiot. Rage, again, if you're going to pick this up, I believe they fixed the issue they had on computer. I'd recommend the computer version. It's supposed to be a sort of free roam game, but it seems sort of unfinished in places, and it has basically the free roaming element is just driving from quest location to quest location in your vehicle, which is really boring. I mean, as I said before, I don't really like vehicle sequences, but there's nothing really to do. You might as well just drive right past them. What is really good about this game is the shooting sequence. The first-person shooter sequence. This game is really good first-person shooter sequence. It also has the sort of town bits, but there's nothing really to do in the towns other than, you know, just go back there, get a quest, go to the store, walk out. But yeah, and there's not really much to do in the way of side quests either. There's a couple of side quests, but basically all the side quests, you just go to a billboard. Oh look, side quest. Let's go to the destination, do the side quest, and look, it's done. It's no real sort of like you go to someone, you know why they're looking for this, you know why they want you to do this. There's none of that. But the actual shoot mechanics of this game are brilliant. So I'd say pick it up for that. The graphics are pretty nice. Well, the graphics are nice, but there are some like sort of texturing issues on it. Most people seem to consider it just basically a tech demo for their new, new software engine that they developed. ID did, but still, it's again another sort of cheaper pickup anyway. Red Faction Armageddon. Haven't really played too much of this yet. It's supposed to be like a lot more sort of linear than the first Red Faction Guerrilla. I don't know why I was going to say the first Red Faction. It was a first-person shooter. But yeah, and it is pretty nice. It's got some pretty cool stuff in it. The magnet gun which they put in it is an amazing weapon. It's got the same sort of amazing destructive physics which Guerrilla had. Like probably the most realistic destructive physics in any game. It's the most satisfying. And as I said, it's got some really inventive weapons in there with the magnet gun, which pretty much lets you say shoot a part of this wall of the building, go and shoot an enemy. What happens? That part of the building comes like separates itself from the rest, sort of gets torn away from the building and slams and shatters into that creature. Or say pick up the creature and slam against the ground. Really great. Red Faction Guerrilla. This is basically this game was a free roam sandbox game. Really nice to go around, basically just destroy random stuff, which is pretty much one of the main objectives you have to do anyway to get further in the game. The gameplay, it's like the fighting in it was decent. I mean, there's nothing really that amazing about it. It's certainly like a step back from Red Faction. Well, the step back. Red Faction Armageddon is certainly a step forward from this in terms of combat, but it does have some good fights. You say, wait, you got do a lot of driving as you always have to do in sort of big sandbox games in this sort of style. But there's some really good moments in this game. It's definitely a game it's worth picking up. And as I said again, it's got the Geo mod to like engine in it, which is great destructive physics. It looks really impressive, the game itself, and you know it's got some decent combat elements. Or pretty much, if you're like good enough friends with the faction in a certain area, they'll send people over to you to help out when you've got alert on you. And you can do awesome stuff like blow up these huge, like, massive bridges and just have, like, the EDF basically go, like, falling down off the top of it. Resistance 2. Again, as all of these, the wrong box. Different box art for the UK. Really, really good FPS, this series. I mean, I really liked... basically the shoot mechanics. I like the Chimeran racer you have to fight against. This game felt a bit more scripted than the first one, but at the same time, it felt like they did it. They added a bit more scripts in, but they definitely improved on it. And it's got some really cool online. It's got the sort of co-op online sort of maps where it's pretty much got the. There's only like a couple of maps, but it'll be randomized the way you go through them, which is pretty cool. But that can get tiring after a while. They say you play on a server, it's just the constant same map, and it just changes a little bit. But and it's also got 60-player online battles, which, you know, there's other games which do bigger than that now, but they're still pretty like big. And it's got some really cool guns in it, and it does it. This one, and well, I haven't actually played this game for so long. I've forgotten how they did it, how they did the health system. But I'll talk about the health system in the other games. I think they did this one, like, yes, actually, I think they did this one in the sort of regenerate system, but you have like sort of health, and you can lose a certain amount, and then it'll regenerate a certain amount. But if say you lose like a bunch of it, you only regenerate a little. You won't regenerate back to full until you pick up health kits and the like. I'll go skip that for now. This is the first one in the series, Distance Fall of Man. This was a launch title for the PS3, and it was a great launch title. It was the first really big hit that came out on the system. The multiplayer stuff, no one really playing on it anymore. Last time I checked, it was only for either one server that had people in it. It was like a one-shot kill all carbine round. And the FPS mechanics and gameplay is still really good in this. Despite the fact it is not as good as the other ones, it's still really good, and this game is really cheap as it is a launch title. And it's still inventive weapons in it. You know, again, cool command race. They did the sort of health regeneration system I was talking about last time, where pretty much in this one you have 4